legendary quests beckoned with the promise of danger and glory, and only a brave few dared to heed the call. For honor and vengeance, they ventured forth with steel and sorcery to combat the merciless legions of darkness. For it was said that those who answered the call were possessed of the warrior spirit, and the blood of the dragon flowed through their veins.
Here is yet another cliché knockoff based on a reputation whose basis was derived from the Muslim perspective, now based on current and past actions taken by the Arabic culture in general. I myself hold no ill will towards them. Their beliefs and struggles are just as legitimate as any others. This conversation was started by a discussion involving the fact of whether or not God was currently set against the children of Israel, since in the past whenever the Ark of the Covenant was not in the hands of Israel, then that meant that God was displeased with them in some way. I tried to explain that considering the delicate situation of the global ecosystem and the cycle it is currently experiencing, I highly doubt that God would be willing to bring his anger upon anyone at this time unless he was willing to risk endangering all he has worked for here by unintentionally destroying the world in the process, which brings me to my point. The spirits are restless and lay beneath the seat of God, crying out for the injustice of their lives to be made right. I know this to be true, for much of my power and capabilities comes from the same such spirits that demand justice and cannot peacefully rest until then, and subsequently neither will I, it seems. Heaven is being instigated to raise up in arms against the wicked to avert the dark spirits who choose to linger and vent their frustration for their lives' outcomes on the living from interfering with helping us in these fragile times. Hell, of course, is being mustered together and preparing for the long-awaited final conflict, which is on standby awaiting my assessment of the struggles between the Nephilim and angelic forces over the aeons of time, since I am basically the matriarch of their bloodline, and thus this decision falls upon me to decide, and so far it is my opinion that God himself is not to blame, or do I hold him accountable for the travesties that have occurred to our children and their descendants. I have seen that he is surrounded by just as many if not more zealots than I am, and that they are the ones responsible for the suffering of my people, seeking to smite the enemy of God, even if they are innocent of the convictions being held against them. And so thus we shall not make war against heaven itself, but we shall have retribution for our ancestors and our own suffering at their hands by demanding a third of the heavenly hosts, those knowingly responsible for our suffering, be cast down from heaven to earth to live as mortals and experience the suffering that we have had to endure, which is minuscule compared to what we each have truly suffered under their reign of control. Living as a mortal is nothing compared to being forced into this realm to live as one of them and suffering throughout their entire mortal life, being driven down a destined path of evil to which they have no means in which to control over, only to be sent to hell for such a life in the end. Many of the faithful and the wise can understand suffering for the sake of God's grand design, and that a few must feel the burden for the sake of all that is, but there is a clear line involving the depth that design goes before it becomes a design of oppression, as it has here with the Nephilim. I still have yet to complete my observation of the events that have occurred, but currently that is my overall opinion of hell's position. Which leads me back to what I was saying, that we all are conveniently being led towards battle one way or another, it seems, and in light of the world's fragile ecosystem there is no way it would withstand a finale to the Titan Wars, in terms that can be no better understood here.
As usual, you were not expecting me. I'm sure you can recognize who I am. But if you don't, let me introduce myself. It is I who worship God for thousands of years. I was the greatest of all slaves. My beauty lifted the hearts of the crowds. My light outshined the stars. And I was determined to ascend above the clouds to the high sacredness of God. And it happened. My wish was granted. It was a dream come true. I was rewarded by my Creator to be amongst the finest angels, the most loved. I was adoring all my eminence until your father, Adam, was created. I couldn't believe that I, the greatest of all, had to prostrate to an insignificant human made from clay. Difficult it was. I refused. I said no to the Almighty. I worshipped God for thousands of years. For how long had Adam served him? Why was Adam given the whole earth to rule? Clearly, I deserved it all, without a doubt. I am the one to rule and command the earth. Since the day of my refusal to kneel, I turned into the worst creature, became the enemy of God and his faithful servants. God promised me to enter hell on the day of judgment and to be held there for eternity. All this has happened because of you. I hate and envy you the same way I envied your father. Since you were born, I have been sinfully harming your life. I will not enter hell alone. I want you to share the pain with me and the curse that will descend upon me. I want to see you burn, cry, and scream as I will. Do you wish to know how I will achieve this? I will uncover the secrets behind my deceptions, the cunning tricks, the manipulation of strategies, and use it all to lead you towards sin. I will show you how I enter the heart of mankind to cause corruption in the world. You must be wondering why I would reveal my secrets to you. Don't worry. You will forget it all by the end of our meeting. To start, I want to clear a misconception you might have. Sadly, I have no power to force you to sin. Only by influencing your free will can I drive mankind to disobey. My grand agenda aims to strip the world from religious beliefs. My strategy to mislead you is very simple. I first try to drag you to infidelity and associating partners with God, which is the greatest sin. If you resist and don't get tricked, I like this one. I then move to plan B, which is to call you to major sins, like abandoning your prayers, adultery, causing harm to your fellow man, drinking alcohol. If you were a true believer and kept steadfast, I don't get discouraged. I call you towards minor sins. If you ignore me, I then occupy your days with permissible matters that are not sins or good deeds, like overeating, pursuing worldly affairs. All these will prevent you from getting rewards. The way I do all this is by gradually entering your heart through your weaknesses. Through what you love most, I attract you step by step. Buying this world in your eyes, I make it magical. Hard to resist, tough to reject. Wealth, power, fame, and women become the center of all thoughts. The core that the whole world orbits around. I hypnotize you to run from one passion to another, committing evil endlessly. The more you people sin, the more I occupy your souls. And when you discover the truth that you became my slaves, you would be dead. If all these fail, I begin to plant fear and sadness in your heart. Poverty will become scary, so that you lie and cheat. I make you fear the oppressor, so that you don't stand up for the oppressed. I make you fear everything but God, except God. Once you remain undefeated, then it is time for my most powerful trick. I use my elite slaves, those who dedicate their lives to me and my agenda. I command them to manipulate your life, to harm you, prosecute you, and to distort your reputation. They can approach you from every side. With this scheme, I can diminish your willpower and strength to resist. I can disable you from moving forward towards God. In this way to God, don't think you can overthrow me. I will show you what no one has ever seen from me. I will whisper and invite, day and night. I will enter your soul through what you love most to make your evil self meaner, greedier, needier. I will feed your mind with evil and daunting thoughts to diminish your determination. It is I who will be victorious. It is I who will last.
So much has transpired over the past few days. I've noticed that some people are trying to figure out why some of the scriptural texts, such as the Bible of Sophia, refer to the one we associate to as Lucifer being referred to in a position of God's achievements. That is because that specific scenario that was told to the author of those works, Jacob I think, were detailing the sins of Lucifer's when he exalted himself above the throne of God, which he found out he was wrong in the end. What I sensed from this tale was a deception to Lucifer's understanding of who he was. His reaction as it is described places him not to have assumed his entitlement in an overthrowing manner or a conqueror's attitude, but someone who really had thought he was God because of the actions taken through him as a vessel during creation. I find it interesting that Sophia waited until after he had taken it too far to have stepped in and intervene. If she had already known of what was to transpire, then why did she not act at a more opportune time and warn him then? I digress. However, situations play themselves out accordingly to that which causes them, not from opinions made long after the situation has ended. Well, next on the list of things to do is our current position in the galactic formation of the Milky Way. Not only are we in too close of a position to the white bands of the galactic arm, which can turn deadly if we drift too far in, but our momentum has increased exponentially. We are almost twice the distance that the simulations had placed us at being 20 years ago. Which means we may be caught in the gravitational pull of the black hole in the center of our galaxy. Regardless, I think I should focus on this situation next and figure out how to push out position about 150 billion miles to the left of our current position. So first I shall focus on the effects of the iron band that is increasing the amount of radiation that is building up around us as we drift further into it. These iron bands strip any solid element that drifts into them and feed those particles of matter into the event horizon of the black hole, increasing its mass and strength of its gravitational pull. To accomplish this goal, the arm bands of the galactic formation are made of densely ion-charged gamma waves that are superheated by this and strip all natural resources from planetary bodies that get pulled into them. I would generate a frictional point between us and the densely formed ion clouds and use the static friction to repel us off the charged ions, but if I generate a strong enough field, we risk being selectively drawn in by the black hole if the excessive buildup reaches too far out from us and gets snagged by the black hole's gravitational pull. Although possibly, if I slingshot the residual energy buildup around the curve of the galactic formation, then allow a connection to the black hole to attach itself from that point, the inertia and the direction that momentum should give us would spin us with just enough power. If I apply the repelling effect at the same time the strongest pull from that connection occurs, then the equivalent of a burrito should equal that of the triangulated taco supreme. Next topic has to do with the fundamental force that began the universe, kinetic vibration. This rebelling friction-based source of positive energy that can be found in every aspect of the universe, and its state within those aspects is usually at a balanced equilibrium with all other associated particles. This is also the associated trait that is responsible for the fusion of particles. You see, just because something is present at the origin of something's beginning does not necessarily mean that it was a part of that object's formation. It is the sign of each aspect interacting within a symbiotic balance with the others that shows that it is a part of its base structure. That is why the Creator stresses on the fact that there must be a balance, and it must always be maintained, for a balanced equilibrium means a balanced cosmic fabric that supports the solid particle fusion of all things. In the previous video I mentioned the fundamentals of mankind's survival beyond extinction and beyond the death of this world. Now I shall go into some detail as to why each of those aspects are so vital, as I see the development of your warp engine and shielding technology is advancing to optimal efficiency. Yes, as you can tell, this vessel's mind is not of his own at this moment. I am best known to your people as the intangible presence and vessel of this world's creation that housed the anomalous energy signature that you all refer to as God during the formation of your planet. When this vessel offered himself as a willing vessel to become a maintenance drone for my internal system malfunctions, I implanted this transponder that is emitting my commands into his neural pathways. So through him I shall endeavor to complete my mission objectives to ensure your species' ascension towards becoming as close a replicant to your progenitors as possible. The first obvious development necessary for human survival when exploring and colonizing space is the developmental functions and capabilities of artificial intelligence technology. This aspect will be vital in the multiple functions that will be required in the process of exiting and entering orbital positions and maintenance of the ship's artificial atmospheric conditions while in flight, as well as deep space piloting and chart navigation trajectory adjustments, especially when traveling in deep space, long-term flight conditions while the biogenetic crew remains in whatever stasis you develop to preserve their life functions from the natural aging process while in flight. It would be advised that your flight crew consist of the AI navigation system, an emergency cybernetic response crew for immediate action situations that can be placed on standby status and assume control until one or more live crew operators can be revived from their stasis. The next aspect is that of your current advancements in your genetic augmentation technology. This will be a crucial factor in, hold on, I lost the signal. Okay, this process will be a necessary quality when planning to survey new worlds and for colonization expeditions. This will allow you to alter your genetic structure and make you adaptable to off-world atmospheric conditions. This would be the proper path to stellar exploration and colonization, as it would be the way of colonizing other worlds without completely destroying the ecosystems of those worlds to accommodate the necessities of the colonists. That brings us to the next aspect of terraforming techniques. This will be necessary to terraform sections of the colonized worlds that will be necessary to sustain the life of the colonists there. Now the reason I suggest this and not the complete terraforming of say a lifeless world into a habitable world is because of many factors that make this impossible as per the efforts that the ones who designed me had discovered. In their words, begin recorded translation. No matter how advanced or remarkable the technology we developed was, we were never able to successfully create a method that made a world completely safe and habitable to our species. There were just too many factors involved. The right air molecules or levels, the right gravitational effect of the planet that would be suitable for our needs, the proper symbiotic life cycles necessary for a healthy atmosphere, the proper atmospheric shielding needs to protect the life on those worlds from both stellar and cosmic radiation. There were just too many factors, which is what led us to the project of colonizing indigenous life on a terraformed world as it developed, or Earth. End recorded translation. So this is why I suggest the path that I have explained, because other methods have already been tried. I'm beginning to lose the signal and the transmission is spotty from here, so I shall go ahead and end this video and we'll have to finish the other subjects at a later date. Ciao Bella.
If you want to live tomorrow, still resolved for a second chance, but you will try.
We are the children of the night. We are the denizens of the dark, cloaked in blackest shadow. We are the fallen angels, soaring through ebon skies upon ravens' wings. We are the wolves that prowl the midnight hours to prey upon the harmless. We are the descendants of the dragon's blood, the keepers of the ancient flame. We are the chosen ones, who dare to explore the mysteries of the unseen realms. We are legion, for we are many, and united, we cannot be vanquished.